that was definitely a strong factor in the choices made there. But Britain left because there was a referendum and the British people voted to leave. Unfortunately, it didn't stop it, which is the ongoing problems. People voted for not signing on to European rules and regulations, and like the great train wreck that is the government, they just continued to sign on to everything, despite what the people said. And it's quite horrifying to realize that it doesn't seem to matter who or what you vote for, nothing seems to change. There's a little bit of insanity there as well, because to think that the right wing is any different from the left wing is to not listen very carefully to the rhetoric. Because whether you swing to the left or you swing to the right, you swing away from the center. There is a socialist move amongst the left wing, where a sort of liberal culture becomes overly liberal, which is all my stuff belongs to everybody, so that means that all your stuff belongs to me. It's interesting. I mean, from my personal perspective, you can't. It's very difficult to blame the thief for being a thief. It's a bit like blaming the teacher for being a teacher, or the. Now you can argue that being a teacher is more moral than being a thief, and in general I agree. However, it's the government that allow people in. It's not the people that allow people in. A lot of the people don't want the people to come in. It's the government that allow people in, and they provide the system for it to happen. I'm sure, I'm sure part of what you said is very true. I'm sure Putin is sitting back laughing at what is going on in a large amount of areas in Europe. But he's not forcing the German government to invite migrants in. The German government is openly inviting migrants in. So, there is the problem of immigration may be a manufactured problem, but you still need the compliance of the government to allow the general stupidity to happen. And so it seems that not just the German government, but many European governments with open arms are welcoming in huge numbers of migrants, and the result is, at this point in time, for some slightly, for some significantly lower quality of life as a result. There's definitely a huge increase in crime. And perhaps if government spent more time on sort of resources protecting the people of their country, police and well-trained police and borders, then maybe things would be better. But some of the statistics that I've seen are 8 out of every 10 crimes involve the police anyway. Yeah. So because it's stupid to think that organized criminals, don't have people on the inside, right? A cousin, a brother, a friend, obviously you can't pay off everybody, but, family is family, right? And the police force has existed for hundreds of years. That is quite a significant amount of time in order for it to be corrupt. And
Mm-hmm.
the general trend in history is that all organizations become corrupt after a period of time. All companies crash eventually. Eventually. In my life, I have met I've traveled quite a bit, and I've met very, 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 very few people who didn't like somebody because of their race. I've met very few. Now, maybe I just hang out with the wrong people, right? Or the right people. But I think it's an overplayed card. Yeah. It's people say, you don't like me because I'm X, or you don't like me because I'm Y. It's usually people don't like people just because they're not nice people. And not nice,
Mm-hmm.
usually people don't like people because simply because they're not nice people. And not nice people exist everywhere. There's it doesn't matter where you go, which country you're in, you'll meet people you like and people you don't like. And anybody that we don't like is often categorized as someone who's not nice. It doesn't have to be that way, but a lot of the time it is. And these kind of people exist everywhere. And there's people like to win, and they like to play a card that can always win. Yeah. So that you don't like me because I'm X or you don't like me because I'm Y is the most common played victim card, whatever it is. You don't like me because I'm a man, you don't like me because I'm a woman, you don't like me because I'm Asian, you don't like me because I'm gay or whatever, and it's reflective of how a person feels. And in my experience, I've met very little what I would describe as real racism. In fact, I worked in London. See, this is where I learned this. I worked in London many years ago in helping young people on the street who had drug problems or were homeless, and I worked for a charity there. And what I discovered working for the charity was this crazy thing, was that the blacks hated the blacks. This is what I discovered working there. It was a real shock to me, right? Because I'd grown up in a culture where I was told that racism was black against white or white against black, right? But what I discovered when I lived in London was racism was black against black, where
Mm-hmm.
where the white people had no problem with anybody, and the black people had no problem with the white people because the white people were cool with everybody, but the black people had problems with the other black people. And so there was a lot of inter-black racism. And the most crazy example of that I have was I was speaking to one young person asking why I didn't communicate with another young person. And the person I was speaking to happened to be black. It didn't bother me. I mean, everyone's a person. I don't. Strange as it sounds, I don't see color. But and as I was talking to this young person, I'm like, why don't you communicate with this person? At least talk to them. And he said to me, because they're black. And I was really confused by this. I'm like, but you're black as well. And he said, no, but he's blacker than me, right? Which is crazy because I couldn't imagine a white person saying, well, he's whiter than me, That would just be silly. I don't communicate with him because he's whiter than me. But there was this, I don't communicate with, and this was common amongst the young people there, which I found to be just a bizarre perspective to have. I mean, obviously it was real for them, and I had to learn that it existed. And I also saw a lot of black people pulling the race card of I can't do this or people won't let me do that because I'm black. And from my own personal experience, it wasn't true. Um, I used to have black employees when I worked there. I organized children's fun days and events, and what I discovered there was that when I asked people to do things, do certain activity, and they didn't want to do it, they would always turn around to me and say, "You're just asking me because I'm black," when they didn't want to do it. And how do you respond to that? I mean, I'm asking you because everybody has to take a turn doing this activity, and nobody likes it. And unfortunately, it's your turn today. It was somebody else's turn yesterday, and it'll be somebody else's turn tomorrow. It's not a question of race. It's just a question of everybody takes a turn. Yeah, right. Everybody has to row the boat, and some people didn't want to row the boat, so they would play the race card. And it's like, well, this is ridiculous, and because it's the easiest card to play, right? If you can win the game by doing something really easy, then you do. You win the game by doing something very easy, and that's what people do, and naturally, quality of life in certain countries is lower and in certain other countries is higher, and there's different reasons for that. Some people work harder. We mentioned before that, some Jewish cultures are very rich because the people work very hard. There's a work ethic there.